Awesome.
Right. Well, welcome everyone back to Purpose Fridays with Share Watson family and friends. Again, today we're talking our continuing series on our hurricane relief and rebuilding efforts. So to get things kicked off, get everyone introduced. We see some of our mastermind members jumping on as well as others in attendance. So let's get this kicked off. Let's bring back on again the one, the only, Sherry Watson. Happy Friday.
Hey, happy purpose hour. Happy hour with a purpose. This is going to be an amazing day, you guys. This series, we've been spending every Friday with you, watching you or having you be involved with watching us build our coalition, starting with Houston First. And last night we had a phenomenal coalition meeting. So some of the things I want to put out there with you guys, those of you that are new with us, when all this started happening, our nonprofits on the ground in Houston, we just had our live mastermind in Albuquerque. Many of our students in our mastermind from the Houston area. So we all came together, and now 1 week at a time, we're building the coalition that we're going to take out into the world. So be sure and join us 2 weeks from today. I'm not going to tell you what's happening, but it's like nothing we've ever done before that we've seen. And so as we came together and we started looking at what are the needs in the community, the boots on the ground, Steve, Camilla, Elizabeth, all of the Texas groups, and how do we bring that coalition together where we have folks from upstate New York, we have folks from Washington State, Betty, Ginger. We have folks that are part of our mastermind, that are part of the coalition in helping bring resources to our boots on the ground. Now, we've learned over the years, you guys, we've learned the importance and the power of getting the funds to the folks at the community grassroots level. We saw the devastation in the entanglement and the misuse of funds with Hurricane Katrina. We saw that devastation. The money was from the top and never got to the bottom. We saw with the foreclosure tsunami and neighborhood stabilization that was bringing $400 billion forward. What happened with that fiasco? How the money went into bureaucracy and they hired 18 more people because they didn't know how to issue money in real estate. And it never got to the people. So we are determined to make sure that $15 billion that Congress allocated, that $45 million that the celebrities raised, the $35 million that J.J. Watts raised, all these things you see, getting it to the people in need. And I'm telling you guys, we've got to stay centered in listening to the stories. We go on with life. There's not a day that our email boxes aren't filled up. And I walk into the office and Natty's crying, Natty has tears. People are reaching out saying, we hear what you do, can you help us? I talked to Steve. The need, you guys, is so intense. And people aren't getting what they need. So we are putting this coalition together. We have the most amazing group around us. We have one of our nonprofits is led by Mr. Skip Thomas. Skip is a filmmaker, TV producer, amazing, and best friends with Governor Huckabee. We're, like he said last night on the coalition meeting, Steve, we're one door knock away from the president and the cabinet members. Camilla is bringing forth so much and reaching out to people in Hurricane Katrina that 2 years later said, no longer are they going to do things for us without us. We are demanding that we lead the way in the rebuilding of our community. And so Camilla's reaching out to the incubator they've started where they fund small businesses. They're a nonprofit that's leading the way. And so bringing that to Houston with our nonprofits, and this country is the most giving. Every one of you on this call, every one of you want to help, want to make a difference, want to support. So we need to empower the coalition, and we're coming up with a name. So all of you listening, go to the Power Purpose page. Help us think about rebuilding America / Houston, rebuilding America / Florida, rebuilding America / Puerto Rico. What do we want this coalition to be called? Because it's something that the Power Purpose has always envisioned. With our mission of empowering and launching 10,000 nonprofits at least, the next step is to create a movement, the coalition, the strength in numbers. And so by rebuilding right now in Houston, in Puerto Rico, in Florida, in South Carolina, we have students all over. The outcome from this is to teach this country how to rebuild our communities. Whether it doesn't have to be a disaster. Our systems are broken. Instead of building more juvenile justice systems, let's bring our community together, redirect that funding, and empower the nonprofit that's working with youth and providing breakthroughs and providing self-esteem training and financial literacy. Let's help the community of veterans. 22 suicides a day, wrong. That's so wrong. So let's help the veterans rebuild that community and have the veterans come in and rebuild America. So this isn't just for the disaster relief. This is an opportunity for all of us coming together in something that we've not envisioned. Camilla, we talked about, never thought the nonprofit would go this direction or be this big or be needed this much. But again, led by purpose. You guys hang on to that. When Camilla and Steve and the coalition members, we talked last night about creating thousands of jobs. So now looking at the need and coming forth with innovative, creative solutions. And Camilla, I want you to talk about one. Steve, amazing what you're bringing, and putting validity and structure around the coalition so that as you hear Steve and Camilla going out to corporate America, having them donate what's needed right now to keep people from being in the hospital, being in the emergency room. So I am so excited that to have and honored and privileged that the Power Purpose can be a part of what you guys are doing and bringing everyone together to build this coalition. So you guys help us think of a name, because in 2 weeks, you're going to see something that's never been done with a group of people that are led by purpose, that have passion, that are brilliant business minds, that are entrepreneurs, and we're coming forth with our nonprofits in the rebuilding effort. So Derek, last night was just amazing, talking about the logo and the name and putting it all together so we can go to the Trump administration with our coalition and say, where's that $15 billion being administered? How do we navigate that? How do we access it? Because we're on the ground and we're going to hire 100 people who have lost their jobs, who have lost their homes, whose cars have been lost. We're bringing people back to help rebuild our own communities. So Derek, with that, it's been an amazing week with all of you. Steve, I'd love to start with you. Steve shared some things with us last week, and it gets more intense, the need. Steve, what you're doing is going door to door, knocking on doors, meeting with the mayors, meeting with the sheriff's department. You're out there seeing what the real needs are. And then you're going the next step, and you're actually going out and purchasing and investing in the things to put in people's homes. Tell folks what's going on. The thing that you said to me that hit my heart so hard was the picture's worth 1,000 words, but there's no way you can describe the odor and the smell and the respiratory problems people are having right now. With the FEMA vouchers not being accepted, hotels won't take them. I've talked to so many people now that are back in their flooded homes because the vouchers won't work. So it's time for us to demand the resources that you guys need in that rebuilding.
Well, and so you're right. And, Amy is my assistant coach, and she's experienced it firsthand. And she had told me a few days ago, maybe a week ago, that she thought she heard someone at her back door. And then yesterday she was all upset. She has a water filtration system for her home that she had just purchased. That we have one. I said, Amy, it made all the difference in the world. You got to get one. It's $5,000. She got it. She was all upset yesterday because it's not working. I said, well, did you call them? No, she's so far gone. She didn't even think it cost. Well, call them. They'll come out and fix it. Well, she sold a hot tub. Some people came by to pick it up this afternoon, and she said, hey, call me. I called her. She said someone had tried to steal that. I told y'all about looters, and they no longer have the protection. And what she thinks is someone had unplugged it and looked like they were trying to steal that water filter from the side of our house. It's big. I don't know how they thought they were going to steal it. But so I tell you that just from the standpoint of what Sherry was talking about, the like I said, looking at the pictures, and then you hear the stories. There was a couple, I don't know if I'd share this or not, but they just moved here from California, and I got a video of them, and they said, what they couldn't believe is how nice the people in Texas were. There's a lot of needs that have been taken care of, but there's still one of the things I thought of was the air purifiers. I was telling Sherry, the homes just and if you want to know what they smell like, well, y'all can't do it, but if you don't even have to go in the home, you can drive down the street, drive down the neighborhoods, and you smell it. Just I was going to say roll down your window. You don't even have to roll down your window because and it sticks with you. And but the dehumidifiers they need. Amy has 2 in her house. She empties them every 3 hours. It just soaks up water. That helps in saving the house. So not that many people can go out and buy dehumidifiers. So I thought between the air purifiers and dehumidifiers, that's one thing that I can easily put a price tag on and then just put them out and then just distribute as many as we can. Because like Camilla said, this could create problems that they don't even know about until years from now or months from now or whatever, that they develop some type of respiratory problem or something like that that could be prevented if we get the air filters in there and help them prevent that. Also, box fans. A lot of them have bought box fans, but not everyone has. The other thing is I came across a guy who he has a program, and he is sending people out from really across the nation, and he puts them up, he boards them, he feeds them, he sends them out. Well, right now they're just sleeping on air mattresses, but he has a slab poured, and he is building more buildings, or his goal is he's giving me a budget of building more buildings. It's a 2-year budget for just under $1 million. But he for example, he's got a company out in Utah. They're going to send out 50 employees every week, and they're just on a rotational basis. 50 will come out, 50 will come out, 50 will come out, 50 will go back. And he's got people like that from all over. So he envisions this as being something that's going to last for a couple of years. Plus, he is going to, where he's located is about 25 miles from me west. We had a forest fire out there a few years ago, destroyed things, and it took a while to get over. These are things that he's looking to do on an ongoing basis. So it's a great way to leverage our money that it not only helps right now, it'll help in the years to come. And, these people are coming in. I said, they don't want just a bologna sandwich or something, but we can get them a hot meal because he's going to have an industrial kitchen, commercial kitchen. He's got everything laid out. So he is someone that I really want to try to help get as much funds as we can so that he can finish his calling in that. Then the other thing, and this isn't so much for me, I'm trying to think of other people, is a pet adoption. Is if we had something where people can just say, hey, I want to adopt your pet and I'll take care of your dog food for the next 2 or 3 months. Again, it's just something that you don't think of, but it's a little expense and it means something to them. I've got 2 dogs and 3 cats. There's 2 dogs and 3 cats that live at my house. They're not mine. They're my son and my wife's. And very attached to them. I know people very attached to pets, and especially at this time, it means a lot to people. And if that's just something that we can do, give them a little toy or something like that. It helps the mentality of the people. It gives them something. For some of them, that's their children. And so that's another thing that I thought that's really fairly inexpensive that we can do is set up maybe some type of adoption thing. We just can get the funds to them, or we'll set up a gift card or something to one of the local pet stores. Maybe they'll give us a discount, and so we can get it to those people for their pets. One of the things, Sherry, you were saying about the name. You were saying Rebuild America Houston / Houston. And I really like that. And very self-centered. I don't live in Houston. I'm actually north of Houston, but you might want to think, because you were saying Florida, Texas or South Texas, because we forget the hurricane really didn't hit Houston. We got a lot of flooding, but southwest of here, that's where it went ashore. And there's a lot of damage down there, but they're smaller communities. So you don't see them on the news as much because, this is where it is. And then Beaumont as well, it flooded over there. So really all of South Houston was pretty much affected. I just don't want anyone to be slighted or upset, but really it's a large swatch. In fact, they had a map up and it showed the area that it affected, and it covered like all of New England, most of California. If you imposed it over those other areas, it was just a large area that flooded and that was affected. It's not just Houston, and I don't want to forget them. I know, like me and Ross, we live right here just north of Houston, and Camilla, you're in Houston, I think, right? So yeah, so
yes, I'm actually Galveston County, so I'm further.
Oh, so right, yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. West of here, Port Aransas, where it hit, where it really came ashore, and those communities they don't have as much resources, as we do around here. So that's one thing I would.
Awesome feedback. Thank you. And Steve.
And I was going to say one other thing, Sherry. I was looking at something this morning. They have this thing called a culture deck, and that it describes what their business is about. And I think this is exactly what you were saying. Preserve the core, stimulate the progress. And what they're saying is, we will keep clear the distinction between what we stand for, which is the power of purpose, and that will never change. But how we do things, we should never stop changing. When you said, you never saw the power of purpose going in this direction or anything like that, being flexible enough to say, here's a need that we never saw coming or never thought of, and that's how we're doing this, but the core of what we do remains the same.
I love it. And Steve, it's so important for everyone around the country to be hearing from you guys on the ground. Steve, when you share stories about that family that just moved into Houston, 2 little boys, they lost all of their jungle gym things, and then driving around and Amy calling, and people are just on the sidewalk and sitting there and crying because the cranes are there picking up everything off your front yard, and we're all thinking, well, that's good. But then you think, that's their life. They're watching their life being taken away, their pictures, their cribs, their baby blankets, and so wrapping our arms around the devastation, when you talk about the elderly gentleman that can't even get into Clayton's house and sitting in his garage, and then look. And
I'll update you on that. I talked to Homer. They did get a crew out there, and they got that fixed. Yeah. And I want to say one other thing, and then I'll be quiet because
no.
Tell me about this. Y'all heard about the Cajun Navy and everything, and I think I told Sherry this. I've told y'all that, but there's nothing good to me about the death of my daughter, but how you respond to that and everything, that's where something good can come from it. I think that Cajun Navy probably came about from Katrina, and I think that's probably why they formed. And they go they go all over the nation. And the guy at Battle Crime Ministries told me he truly believes there'd have been thousands of people killed had not the Cajun Navy came in, because they would not have been able to get those people out, and they would have drowned. So live and learn. And what came out of Katrina was they formed that Cajun Navy, and that they now go around, and it saved lives here that wouldn't have been saved because just didn't have the manpower to do it for whatever reason. But getting back to us, taking the initiative and not waiting on. Everybody can't be everywhere at the same time. So to have that many people come in, and now they're prepared to go out in an emergency like that.
Well, and Steve, you hit on something very important to all of you guys. One of the things we teach at the Power Purpose, 35 years I've led nonprofits. I've been a part of a movement. We changed the world literally with Americans with Disabilities Act so we could be equal. And part of that, in that coalition, is connecting. I always say the number one secret to driving a profitable nonprofit as a corporation is connecting with the mayor, connecting with state legislators. So listen to what Steve's saying, connecting with the Cajun group, connecting with Katrina group that she's connecting with, and see what's been really important in the momentum with us is when you go out and connect with the sheriffs, the precinct, with the sheriffs. 39, you were telling me, of the sheriffs were impacted, and not being able to have the security like your assistant coach had. People are scared now. And then meeting with the mayor, and the mayor ends up in the hospital with exhaustion, and so connecting with folks. Everything you're saying right now, we're writing down notes of who the coalition can connect with. And on that, Steve, what's urgent right now, everybody listening, the economic impact right now. So people are ending up in the hospital. I talked to 2 more people today that their families are in the hospital still with respiratory. And they're ended up in the hospital where they could have a dehumidifier, box fans, starting to help them, right? So the urgency as the coalition brings forth the need and then solutions, one of the solutions that's urgent is the economic impact it's causing by people getting this, people collapsing, people exhaustion. And so think about the solutions we're bringing forward. And Camilla, you've been amazing on the phone, 700 people a day, connect. So I'd love to talk to, and what you talked about last night when we all said, how do you take a coalition like this with that much need? So there's not a day goes by where I don't hear something that just breaks your heart. And it's like, why aren't we in there? Why can't we help? Why can't we take that $15 billion and get it to you guys, the nonprofits, to get out there and get it? And as I'm thinking about the urgency, that the coalition moving that forward and planting that seed of urgency and demanding that those funds come to you guys. So the rest of you that are on the call with us, let's think about even our Congress people, even who we can connect with to say we're part of a coalition, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about it. Now, how can you help us? Doesn't have to be in Houston or Florida or Puerto Rico, or we have Ginger upstate New York that has done this in Haiti, and she's a physical therapist and energy healing, really works with people on the social, physical, spiritual, psychological aspects of rebuilding your life. And so she's brought a grant application to take her nonprofit and plant something in Houston, working with Steve and Camilla and the coalition. So wherever you are right now on this call in this country, it's time for us to come together and get strong. And Camilla, when we talked last night, how overwhelming, how do you do it? And Skip said, well, I feel like an elephant, one bite at a time, right? And then Camilla, you so eloquently laid out working with entrepreneurs and in the people that have lost their business, and a great way to start with the artists. And so that's the kind of thing that will lead us forward. And the coalition is bringing innovative solutions forward, putting the urgency on it for the economic impact, and then getting you guys the funding to employ hundreds of people to go out and do it. So Camilla, share with them what you shared with us last night.
Okay, hi everyone. Okay, I'd like to just say that, you know, I'm so grateful that you guys are here on Purpose Fridays with us, because everyone who is actually in the community has just lost everything or knows someone that's lost everything and is helping them. And so we do need the support, and that's why Sherry is working with the coalition, and we're putting great things together that you can plug into and help us with, because you have more stability, because you didn't just go through a disaster. So don't feel that because you're hundreds of miles away, you can't help, because actually the fact that you're 100 miles away in a more stable situation is what allows you to help, right? Put on your own oxygen mask, then look around to somebody that you can help. And that's the situation we're here now as nonprofits in Houston and the Houston area, because everyone just lost everything, right? And my community development institute is called Common Sense, and Sherry and I were going to work on bringing common sense entrepreneurial solutions to the local problems. And we just never imagined, when we were putting the legal paperwork together, that there will be so many problems, and that we're like rebuilding the community from zero. There are some streets that you have to gut everything, really, even, you know, the water lines, because there's toxic water and sludge, and, you know, it's oil country here by the ocean, and there are refineries, and there's gas escaping, and, you know, there's water and mud getting into the, like, pipeline. Like, so I mean, honestly, like, the towns south of us, like Steve was saying, 5 minutes down, Dickinson, you know, everything between Galveston and Dickinson, there are places that are completely gone, really. And I'm in between, because, you know, we work in Houston, but we live here by NASA. And so some of the smaller towns, they just don't have any money or infrastructure or a tax base at this point, really, to do much of anything except rely on the community to rebuild itself through donations from people who are outside of the community. So just stay tuned on, you know, what Sherry and the team is putting together. And in terms of what I am doing now with the other members of the coalition is, we are dividing up our tasks. I work more with entrepreneurs, and so that's what I'm focusing on now, working with the local legislature and the Chamber of Commerce. And we're kind of looking for how to help the local business owners, because, you know, the vast majority of Americans who get a paycheck get it from a small business owner. When you think of Fortune 500 companies, they actually don't employ, most of Americans are employed by a company that has fewer than 50 employees. And those people were very hard hit. They're not meeting payroll. They might have lost inventory. They lost supply lines. They lost trucks. So there will be a huge list of needs that we have, and we will need money to buy things, to deliver to people, to really help them out, to prevent bankruptcies of hundreds and thousands of businesses in the area, because that eventually impacts the country, as we learned with the foreclosure tsunami in 2009, as we learned with a lot of these disasters, when a section of the country goes down unexpectedly, and now gas is $2 more everywhere. The faster Houston can get fixed, the more it helps all of the families in the country. So, you know, it's not just a local problem, because we live in a time where people are just much more connected. And Steve brought up a great point. The Cajun Navy was funded through local community and nonprofits and the internet. You know, oh, we need $5,000 in gas. And so people were able, through PayPal, to just make those donations so they could buy the gas 2 minutes after they asked for it. And that's what Sherry is trying to accomplish. Because that $15 billion that's like hanging out there somewhere, it could be 3 years before anyone gets it. And at that point, the business is shut down. The 5 moms that were working there are out of work. I can't tell you the stories every day, because we will all cry, and that's not the purpose of the call. The purpose of the call is to be energized and to realize that we have a purpose and we have the power to change and rebuild our local community. So I'm very grateful, Sherry and Derek, for having me on. And all I really wanted to say is, you know, it's just hard to get through a day without crying right now. You know, I met with my kid's school teacher this morning. She lost her house. You know, she has 20 to 5-year-olds. Half of them lost their house, all their toys. You know, and they're out there and they're supposed to learn how to read and then sit in a circle. And, you know, mom and dad haven't been paid in 3 weeks. And so, you know, the needs are, it just blows my mind right now. At, like, you know, I can't even, you know, I mean, it's really, really hard to go to the school and like half the teachers are crying because they lost everything. And, you know, half the parents aren't getting paid. And it's just really, really was probably like, you know, the worst school open house I've ever been to. We were all just crying, you know, and we need you guys because you're not here, because you're not suffering in an emergency way right now. So I'm just so grateful that you're on the call and you're following with us, you know, what's been going on. Sherry?
And guys, for those of you around the country, the things we're here, the things we know because of the boots on the ground is different than what we're hearing in the media or thinking, or the media is not even really covering it now. But things like over 100,000 homes were destroyed and over 80% of those to have no flood insurance. That's hundreds of thousands of people. That's families. That's mom and dad and kids. That's families whose lives are completely destroyed. And so we hear, well, I heard through a friend of mine that's with Department of Treasury that the banks were stepping forward and the banks were giving a reprieve. And I'm thinking, okay, so they're doing 3 months. They'll let you stay without your payment. But then I find out from so many people that, yeah, they're going to give you 3 months, but on the 4th month, you have to pay all 3 back payments plus your 4th month. Well, people aren't even getting paid, and people are in survival mode. What kind of deal is that? And where are we as a country? I mean, that we as a country, we the people, we could be the advocates. Well, Camilla and Steve and Elizabeth and Ross and Richard, and they're all in survival mode. I mean, Richard last night talked about his nonprofit is to educate families and provide supports whose kids have type 1 diabetes. And he was talking about now that he's been out connecting and seeing the need, and kids can't even get their insulin right now. Not only because their families don't have cars and can't drive down to the local pharmacy they go to or anything. On top of that, the pharmacies are flooded. The 3 by him are flooded. And they're not even open right now. So how are these kids getting the kind of things they need to survive? And then another friend of mine called in the hospice arena, and I just went through this with my mom. My mom was on full-time oxygen in her home. If she would have lost electricity, we would have panicked. We wouldn't have had an option to keep her with us. So what's happening to all the folks that are on oxygen? I was told yesterday that was a huge need to get generators because even some of the electricity hasn't been restored. So they're in the middle of survival. You know, you hear Camilla going to the school. You hear Steve going to the precinct and going to meet with the mayor and going house to house. They're in survival mode. We as a country, we can start asking questions to our Congress people. What's happening with the banks and those 100,000 homes, families that are in devastation right now? How can we as a country rise up together and make things right? So I really want to emphasize that to all of you guys with us today. That's what this series is about. And we'll move from place to place. We'll get this strong in Houston. Then there's devastation in Florida. Puerto Rico is so hurt right now. As this coalition becomes known and we do the cause marketing. When Steve told me about his assistant coach in the hospital, just because of the smell and the respiratory and what people are going through, and I said, what company makes those? The dehumidifiers, the box fans. We can do a cause marketing. We as a coalition with every one of you guys, we need you as part of this coalition. We can go to the big corporation and say, we need 10,000 of these donated, and we can get them deployed within a week. And we can boost their bottom line by supporting them, putting it out on a press release, bring it on Purpose Friday. Yay, look what GE did. Look what so-and-so did. Bring them in to be part of the solution in corporate America. So any of you that have connections, we've had one of the mastermind students that their friend has a trucking company, a big national one, that's willing to help start coordinating some of this. So think about the connections you have, the resources you have to help come and be part of this coalition. Let's do this in Houston and then take it around the country, because we've been hit hard, and it's time. It's time. It's time to demand. When you see what Hurricane Katrina, when they finally, the community finally said, we're rebuilding. No more of this fragmentation. And Camilla, you hit all of us so hard in the beginning when you said, you know, clean socks and a blanket were good the first day. We were very grateful. But we're way beyond that. Where are the resources? Where's the help? And how do we get that message to the folks that are getting the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars? How do we get that and learn from Hurricane Katrina? And we see what the community leaders have done by setting up nonprofits, taking the funding, and they're rebuilding the way their community should look. It's amazing what they've done in the 9th Ward, you guys. I shared it with the coalition. I was part of it. They took the initiative. They got the funding. But it takes all of us. It took us at a federal level. It took us going through the faith-based initiative. It took all of us coming forward and demanding that money go to the community. So it's time, guys. It's time. So we'll keep this series going. We have a phenomenal group. Amplifying Truth with Mr. Skip Thomas. He's going to be doing the documentaries and putting it together, putting faces to what's going on right now. You know, it's one thing to hear the statistics or even watch the news now. We've moved on. We're talking about the Turkey leader and the Kyra and da-da-da. I mean, what's going on with UN? We're not even talking and showing the devastation that's out there. So it's up to all of us. Just remember, we the people. And we've got to be strong, guys. We've got to be strong. And by being strong, the leaders love us because we're bringing solutions, common sense. Camilla, when you talked about how you would start with entrepreneurs and just thinking about artists, talk about that. What a great common sense solution, putting people back to work. They pay taxes again. We're boosting the economy again. And they're in part of the rebuilding.
Yes, that's very important because when people come from the big bureaucracy, they just aren't really set up for a local community emergency kind of a situation like the disaster that we just had. And one of the first things we're doing is we work with entrepreneurs who maybe do not qualify for the standard type of a bank loan. And fine artists or educators or academics are certainly in that boat where, you know, it's not as simple as buying a franchise to a bank loan officer, right? So for us, you know, we have fine artists here in Houston that has a very strong art community that have lost all of their work. And if you know anything about how long it takes to make an oil painting, to make 10 or 20 for a show, and I have a legal obligation to deliver that work to a gallery in another state, and now you don't have any work, and you don't have a studio space, and you lost all your materials, and you can't insure any of that stuff for flood, and you can't be insured for the full value of a painting until it's sold. So the insurance company will give you $200 for the canvas. They won't give you back the 10 years of your life. that it's going to take you to paint those again. And so we will hire artists, we will start rebuilding the community, we'll be working with local building owners and contractors. As buildings are being repaired and repainted and rebuilt, the artists will be doing Houston Strong murals, and there will also be some public art projects, and they will also be doing paintings for the local schools that are now being rebuilt because you know, everything has to be rebuilt. So we thought it would be a great way to give them a job and a way to kind of bridge this difficult time while they're recovering and getting some new work in. And, you know, the community would love to have some Houston Strong murals right now, because sometimes the emotional healing and the spirituality of the people who live there is just as important as, you know, just kind of getting back on your feet financially. And so, you know, that's like one of those first projects that, you know, people will have a job, we will be able to hire, we will be able to rebuild somebody's business, we will be able to better community, we will be able to make Houston even nicer than it was before the storm. And that all has to be at the local level, because the federal government has no idea that any of this is going on, number one. And all of the programs that they have that supposedly help people in need are set up for normal situations. And Sherry, you know, paperwork over people is so important right now, because none of those programs that exist are geared for this kind of disaster. So when a business owner applies for a loan and they get told, well, how much money did you make last month? And they say, well, nothing, I was in a disaster. Guess what? You can't get that loan, whether it's a federal loan or a rural lending loan or a special super duper small business loan. You do not apply under any normal structure that currently exists to get that money, because it's not based on that. Same thing with food stamps, with you know, Medicaid, with whatever it is that you need. If you don't have a place to live, half of those programs you don't qualify for. Right? If you don't have a job, you don't qualify. If you know, so there's all these things that simply don't apply to someone that just lost everything, right? But, you know, the person at the office has to reject you because that's what it says on their computer. And, you know, it's really terrifying, because they do have money, but they can't give it to us unless we show them an address. And they don't want to hear that you're living in a Winnebago with your 7 other neighbors right now, while the kids are, you know, with grandma. I mean, you know, we're just really doing the best we can, but paperwork doesn't want to hear that. So, you know, going out to the legislators will be very important, I think, because they have the money and they have no legal way to give it to us. I guess that's how I would sum that up.
Sherry, and listening to this and like listening to Camilla, one of the things I don't think people really understand, I don't, and I'm kind of right here in it. I'm surrounded by it. Life for us that aren't affected by this moves on at normal speed. But I know the people who are having to go home every day, the ones who don't have a place to go, that one couple I told you about, you know, I asked them, I said, well, where are you staying? They said, well, we try to just stay a few days here, a few days there, because we don't want to be a burden to anyone. And the ones with the 2 little boys, time moves normal for us, but for them, it is slow motion. And one day is like a week for them. And I know I was kind of yelling at you, getting on to you, and because, you know, you're saying going out to demand for the money. For a lot of us, you know, you've been doing this, like you said, for 35 years. This is new for us. So we're not really sure where to go to get the money, to demand the money. How exactly do you demand that money? It's not that I would, you know, if I knew exactly where to go and stuff, I would go do that. And I really think, Camilla, you tell me, Camilla, the thing is, they need it yesterday. I mean, us saying another 2 or 3 weeks is really way too long for them. And I don't know what all can be done, and that may just be a fact of it, that it's going to take that much time. But I'm just saying, I know how much when I see those people, I can't imagine it. And I just looked it up. You know, this weekend will be a month. So I I wasn't even really sure how long it was. I knew it was getting around that moment in time. I guarantee you they know, and they know how long it's been like that. And it's probably seemed like 2 or 3 months for them, having to, look at their yard that's torn up and their house is torn up, and they're not knowing where they go. They can't cook because they don't have a kitchen. Their kitchen's been ripped out. And if Skip, if you can hear me, I'd try to get a hold of you because I've got a bunch of pictures and a video I wanted to get to you. But I know that creates a lot of frustration for them. And I kind of quit going to talk to some of the people because until I have some money or I have something that I can give them to help them, I don't really think I'm helping them. I'm kind of giving them false hope. So if anyone else is on this call, I am willing to go out. I was just thinking, like what Camilla said, down in Dickinson and the areas southwest of me. I've got a friend, her house, I'm surprised she didn't flood in South Houston, but she has some rental houses out in Columbus and, west of Houston again. They have flooded. I'm more than willing to drive down there and find out what those people's needs are because I bet they don't have that many people going down there seeing what do they really need, reporting back, and then us trying to supply those needs for them. But the one thing that I would probably stress more than anything is the urgency in which we need to move, if that's possible. Maybe I'm not educated enough to know that it's not possible yet, but there's more than enough different kind of needs that can be met. Like I said, tomorrow, just if we have the funds. And so I just kind of want to remember those people that time moves just as normal for us. Like, nothing's happened. But for the ones who are living in those wrecked homes, a day, I'm sure, is like a week for them every day.
No, I love it. We can put urgency. We are putting urgency. And when I say demand, meeting with the mayor, the state legislators, demanding, helping them. I mean, they want that money to come home too, to Texas. And so help them be the advocate, and we're doing the same thing. Find out how that money's being sent down. And if it's still not being sent down, we can demand and help the mayors and legislators that so badly want to get the support for them. So let's find out, and that's what we're on that path for, is it coming through? It could be, and Steve, Camilla, you guys there in the area, when you go out and connect with the mayor, is that money coming through Community Development Block Grant disaster relief? We were able to get funding through that finally, but because we weren't prepared in a coalition and come in numbers like we are now. But that's how the federal money that they've granted will either go to state agencies and then come to local, or it'll go straight to the local municipalities, and the mayors can help. We can help them as much or more. We can go in hand, and we can be the advocate that demands it, working side by side with them. So that's one thing. The next thing is, as a coalition with the letterhead and the logo and the strength and the power, we can now go to J.J. Watts as a coalition and say, we need the money yesterday. And our groups can be on the ground. Here's what we're going to do. We have the budget put together, you guys. That can happen now, and it's going to take everybody on this call. I see Brenda. Brenda really opened my eyes, and one of our mastermind students, she called the Houston Center for Independence for folks with disabilities. And because of the scams, and Steve, you're talking about the looting, because of that's going on, they're like, well, who are you? How long have you been around? People, it's like your community. And so, again, coming in with the coalition that's led by Steve and Camilla and Richard and all them, with all of our names on the left-hand side of the letterhead saying, come on, we're coming to town. Camilla, Steve, they're going to lead the way. Cindy Jones. Cindy, it's great to see you. Cindy's from Atlanta. She does her nonprofit's Higher Living, and she works with women, especially single moms, in getting them ready. And so Camilla, connecting with her and find out how higher living can be helping with the resources for folks that are needing to start over, like you talked about. So that's the urgency, Steve, that we put into it. And I'd like for Skip, Derek, if you can get Skip on, I don't know, Derek and Skip. Here's where all this plays in together with the urgency and the timing now. Is Derek and Skip and us, mainly Derek and Skip have led the way, have been developing the positive action platform. And it's like what we talked, Camilla, it's like, wow, we didn't ever envision it launching something this huge at this speed, right? But they've developed an online platform that for philanthropists, difference makers, leaders, mayors, sheriffs, and our nonprofits to come together, and we'll launch this out big and keep them connected through videos, the things you guys bring forth, even successes. Camilla getting out there with the artists. You have $1 million budget. You've hired 100 artists, and the artists are out there with the kids doing art, and they're painting murals. I mean, just, people can see where the money's going in the actual rebuilding led by you guys. So Skip and Derek, if that's where we're headed in 2 weeks. So Steve, the getting the money between now and the next 2 weeks will work with JJ Watts. I got a connection, if anybody knows, the $1 Billion Buyer, a TV show with Tillman. He's in Houston, and everything he's doing is in Houston. His hotels, he
just bought the Rockets.
Yeah. So we as a coalition, let's go meet with them. There are no limits. So everybody listening right now, we're one step away from different connections. So the $1 Billion Buyer, let's go meet with him. Meeting with Tim Mai later on this afternoon, who's one of the biggest real estate investors, heart-centered, the most awesome person I know in the real estate arena in this country. He's from Houston. And so we're talking about bringing the for-profit and the nonprofits together in the rebuilding. So there's a lot of activity right now we could do with JJ Watts. I heard the other day, he wants to give that money to local folks on the ground. You've got the perfect entity. You're a nonprofit. We can take that money, be very transparent, show them the budget, and then Skip, with Amplifying Truth, can document what's happened in the rebuilding, and then Derek and Skip together putting it on positive action platform. That's what we're going to launch in 2 weeks. We didn't know we could do it this soon. We didn't know, but because of what's going on, we'll launch that. Every one of you start thinking about the influencers, the corporate America, the CEOs, the foundation directors, the mayors, wherever you are in the country, and we're going to bring everyone together on the call 2 weeks from today, and we're going to have the portal set up, and we're going to start bringing funds in. So between now and 2 weeks, we'll look at accessing funding from the other groups, and we'll do the build up, every one of you. And if you have a list, if you have access to Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Oprah, the big list, we have an email that the coalition's putting together that's going out next week to all of our different partners and colleagues that have lists, and it's saying join us for Purpose Friday, October 8th or whatever it is. That we are together going to start the rebuild one community at a time, and we want hundreds of thousands of people on there. Steve, Camilla, that's the way we're going to get the funding to that day to start that campaign. So that's every one of you. Get people psyched up, get people ready. We'll get the email, we'll send it out to you guys. Send it out to everyone, and let's get everyone on Purpose Friday in 2 weeks, and we'll launch the crowdfunding site to start getting you guys funding.
And for everyone watching as well, we've been working with our coalition on just also wish lists in addition to the funding we raised for a lot of items, materials, supplies, equipment, things that are considered in-kind donation as well, to get out there, and also working out the logistics to get that out there as far as transport. So look for that, as in the next coming couple of weeks here as well. In addition, with getting words out on the Positive Action platform for everyone else also that's attending and watching, as we discussed last week, something that would be very, very helpful and extremely valuable for us is just continue to get the word out and raise awareness. So if you are on this Zoom call right now as we speak, all right, be sure to share that invitation and email invitation. If you're watching us live on Facebook, be sure and share this video or share the page as we get this going, because the next few weeks we're going to need all of you out there really helping us with this coalition in a broader sense to really deliver some help. So that's something that all of you that are participating now can help us out with in a big, big way. Well, okay, we're going to kind of come to the close for our purpose hour here.
Hey, Skip, do you want to say anything? Skip spoke so great last night about what Amplifying Truth is doing coming into this, your relationship with Governor Huckabee. And it's important, you guys, don't get into the politics of the party and that kind of stuff. Governor Huckabee has been on every station and preaching the word and spreading that it's about people, not paperwork. And over and over they ask, what would you tell this administration to help starting in Houston? Make it about people, not paperwork. So Camilla, when you said they'll look at it and go, oh, they don't have any income. We have a strong advocate that's with us that's going to bring that forward. So Skip, last night you shared about your nonprofit and your board of directors and how close we are to that one door knock away. So just kind of help wrap it up and share with folks what we have in front of us.
Can you hear me? Hello, I'm driving. I'm in the middle of a construction site and headed to Little Rock. I'm in my motorhome, which I just moved all my editing equipment back into my motorhome, which I've gone all the way from Palm Springs, California to Miami, Florida, working on various projects. And I thought, well, I might need to get mobile again. So I'm going. I'm in my motorhome that's kind of a studio and can travel, film, and edit on the road. Amplifying Truth at this point in my life was really a dream that I've been wanting to do for probably the last 15 years of what can I do to give back in terms of making a difference, and with the skills and talent that God has given me and the experiences I've had over the years, what can I do for good? And the coincidence of us coming together, which we know how that word doesn't really isn't really true, Sherry and Derek and Tracy and then the whole group. I'm really excited, and I know what my work is to do, and as I think it was Steve said, I heard him, and I've been kind of in and out of cell phone service, but to try to get these stories, to get video clips with cell phones. Everybody's got a high definition camera now on their phone, photographs and stories, and if we need to do some recording, download some of these clips from the stories I've heard from Camilla and others, to be able to put those together, and for this Positive Action platform to re-edit something we started a while back, and update it with some of this current footage and our mission, I think will be very compelling. It'll be a great sales promotion tool to get to use it when you get in front of other people. So I'm thrilled. I'm excited. I know it just brings tears to my eyes to hear the stories and even the stories that are untold down there by the thousands. And this is for this to be a sustainable effort. We have a great platform and a network with all of you and with what the Power of Purpose and the team's done. I'm just thrilled to be a small part of that. So I've got to just get repositioned to be able to handle it here, and with the RV/studio, and that's coming together beautifully. So let's give me the footage, give me still photos, and help me get the stories, and I'll start assembling these things. So thank you, Sherry and Derek. Love you guys. Love you all. Bye.
Thanks,
I love you
Skip.
too, Skip. You be safe out there.
All right,
So,
thanks.
so the call to action for all of you guys with us with Facebook, and part of us, and I see so many of you, Pete, Pam, all of you guys. I see you, Linda. Those of you that are with us, those of you that aren't, come in and join us. Go to the Power Purpose Facebook page. Any kind of resources you have, thoughts, ideas, coalition name, anything, let's as a country come together and let's rebuild one community at a time and take this country to new heights. So Steve and Camilla, so much gratitude for what you guys are doing, what you're going through. Our prayers are continually with you. And no, Steve, your urgency keeps our fire lit under the rest of the country saying we need it yesterday. And we'll do everything we can. The coalition, we have plans for us next week to start reaching out the first of the week. We're going to, someone on this call, someone with us knows how to get access to the $1 billion buyer. Someone knows how to get access to JJ Watts. There's money right now set aside, JJ Watts, that we could start Monday morning making things happen. So the coalition, stay tuned, you guys, for the series for next week. And we'll let you know who we've connected with. You send us any connections, any resources, ideas, help. And like Derek said, the disaster reliefs, New Mexico, Derek and I met with Congressman Michelle Lujan Grisham, and they want to help lead the relief effort to go to Houston at the state level with the governor, with Congress. So it's coming, our wish list, we'll post it on the Power Purpose. You've heard from Steve and Camilla right now. Simple things, the dehumidifier, the box fan, simple things right now. We're gonna put that wish list coming from the community. Not that we wanted to send a bunch of stuff. What do they need? And we'll start coordinating efforts to get things to you guys that we, along with some funding, like Camilla, you said you could use 10 assistants last night because of how many like, yes. So we'll get things, so on the Power Purpose Facebook page, guys, man, let's keep the momentum, the wish list, what's going on, what states can do what in the disaster relief, what's happening with JJ Watts, what are we doing with the $1 billion buyer, Tillman, what Tim Mice bring forth with the real estate investors. All of us together, we can bring those resources, Steve and Camilla. And so thank you.
Hey, and I just want to be sure because I will send out an email trying to get as many people. The call you're talking about is going to be on October the 6th, correct?
Okay.
2 p.m.?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And
we want to try to get as many people as we can on that call. I mean,
that's when we're going to launch
Yes.
the Positive Action Platform and give them a portal to start donating, So rally troops. Again, we'll meet next week and just keep that momentum going toward October 6th.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Especially Steve, Camilla, thank you guys so much for sharing. Thank you for what you're doing out there. Like I said, you guys are really, along with the rest of our crew, really coming in and becoming the heart and soul of this coalition we're putting together here, as well as Skip, our road warrior out there on the road right now as we speak. Same as myself, I'm road warrioring myself and have an RV. And we also have an RV. We thought about taking it out there to Houston as well when it comes time. So Skip and I, of course, now that makes us like we have our Positive Action Convoy now. So once again, everyone, we're going to be continuing this series again next Friday, and then the week after that on October 6th. Really, really big launch. So one more time, if you received these notifications, you're on the Zoom right now watching us on Zoom, please feel free and share. Okay, that invitation you got, there's actually instructions in our emails you get from us on how you can share that. Share that with all your contacts, your friends, colleagues, okay to have them join us. Also, those of you on Facebook, you can share this video. You can share our like page, The Power of Purpose, to get people involved. It's a big way you guys can help. Okay, so we will see you guys next time.
Wait a minute, Derek. You know how I'm not trying to get the last word in, but I always do. You guys, I have to do a special shout out to Ruth. I just looked at the Q&A right now, and Ruth, you guys, she's saying that this is so inspirational. We should write a book about it, educate nonprofit leaders to help them with fundraising, preparing for disaster in California, using this coalition to help broaden and use it as a blueprint. So, Ruth, that's the kind of, we love that. That's the kind of thing that just boosts us and gives us the confidence to go forward full force. So, Ruth, thanks for ending by saying, God bless all of you. I want all of you to hear that. God bless you guys, and you're all awesome.
Oh, awesome. Well, again, thank you all. You know, those in our mastermind, our Purpose Pioneers that are on with us entirely. Houston area, Florida, and elsewhere. You know, you guys are the driving force behind this. The reason why we do what we do. Thank you all, and we'll see you guys next time. Okay, one more time: 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, next Friday. Week right after that, really big kickoff with Positive Action Platform. Please get out there and share this to help us raise awareness. So, everyone that's on, thank you again so much for joining us, and we'll continue to bring this message on a weekly basis starting next Friday. So, thank you all.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right, bye, everyone.